we're back again.
We're back.
It's time for more bugs. Look at these images.
Tasty adventures.
So we're again continuing on with our great bug debate. So go ahead and open up that document that we've been working on right here, the great bug debate. And today we're going to be getting into clip 3. And before we do that, today's the day to kind of really start to look at where do you need some more evidence? Because today we're going to be working more on reasoning. So let's look at what claims you might have. You might have said that insects are good for you. You might have said that insects are plentiful, that they're great for the environment. What else?
That they're a way to solve the problem of world hunger, that they're delicious, that they're popular. Many cultures are already doing this. You're not a weirdo if this is your jam. And so today's our last day with clips and articles to build our argument. And then tomorrow we're going to actually put this together in a drafted piece. And so that takes us to we're going to go to clip number 3. And in your notes on your document, go ahead and make sure your cursor's on clip number 3, and there's some bullets there for you. And you're going to collect some compelling evidence that will support why insects should be a great protein alternative for Americans.
All right, let's get it started.
For centuries, people have consumed bugs, everything from beetles to caterpillars, locusts, grasshoppers, termites, and dragonflies. The practice even has a name, entomophagy. Early hunter-gatherers probably learned from animals that foraged for protein-rich insects and followed suit. As we evolved and bugs became part of our dietary tradition, they fulfilled the role of both staple food and delicacy. In ancient Greece, cicadas were considered luxury snacks, and even the Romans found beetle larvae to be scrumptious. Why have we lost our taste for bugs? The reason for our rejection is historical, and the story probably begins around 10,000 BC in the Fertile Crescent, a place in the Middle East that was a major birthplace of agriculture. Back then, our once nomadic ancestors began to settle in the Crescent, and as they learned to farm crops and domesticate animals there, attitudes changed, rippling outwards towards Europe and the rest of the Western world. As farming took off, people might have spurned bugs as mere pests that destroyed their crops. Populations grew and the West became urbanized, weakening connections with our foraging past. People simply forgot their bug-rich history. Today, for people not accustomed to entomophagy, bugs are just an irritant. They sting and bite and infest our food. We feel an ick factor associated with them, and are disgusted by the prospect of cooking insects. Almost 2,000 insect species are turned into food, forming a big part of everyday diets for 2 billion people around the world. Countries in the tropics are the keenest consumers, because culturally it's acceptable. Species in those regions are also large, diverse, and tend to congregate in groups or swarms that make them easy to harvest. Take Cambodia in Southeast Asia, where huge tarantulas are gathered, fried, and sold in the marketplace. In southern Africa, the juicy mopani worm is a dietary staple, simmered in a spicy sauce or eaten dried and salted. And in Mexico, chapulines are toasted with garlic, lemon, and salt. Bugs can be eaten whole to make up a meal, or ground into flour, powder, and paste to add to food. But it's not all about taste. They're also healthy. In fact, scientists say entomophagy could be a cost-effective solution for developing countries that are food insecure. Insects can contain up to 80% protein, the body's vital building blocks, and are also high in energy-rich fat, fiber, and micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. Did you know that most edible insects contain the same amount or even more mineral iron than beef, making them a huge untapped resource when you consider that iron deficiency is currently the most common nutritional problem in the world? The mealworm is another nutritious example. The yellow beetle larvae are native to America and easy to farm. They have a high vitamin content, loads of healthy minerals, and can contain up to 50% protein, almost as much as in an equivalent amount of beef. To cook, simply saute in butter and salt, or roast and drizzle with chocolate for a crunchy snack. What you have to overcome in ick factor, you gain in nutrition and taste. Indeed, bugs can be delicious. Mealworms taste like roasted nuts. Locusts are similar to shrimp. Crickets, some people say, have an aroma of popcorn. Farming insects for food also has less environmental impact than livestock farms do, because insects emit far less greenhouse gas and use up less space, water, and food. Socioeconomically, bug production could uplift people in developing countries, since insect farms can be small scale, highly productive, and yet relatively inexpensive to keep. Insects can also be turned into more sustainable food for livestock, and can be reared on organic waste, like vegetable peelings, that might otherwise just end up rotting in landfills. Feeling hungry yet? Faced with a plate of fried crickets, most people today would still recoil, imagining all those legs and feelers getting stuck between their teeth. But think of a lobster. It's pretty much just a giant insect, with legs and feelers galore, that was once regarded as an inferior, repulsive food. Now, lobster is a delicacy. Can the same paradigm shift happen for bugs? So give it a try. Pop that insect into your mouth and savor the crunch.
All right, hopefully you got down some great evidence and put it right here under clip 3, because that might be some evidence you want to use and incorporate when it comes to completing your essay. So now we're going to go to the last document called Bugs Can Save the Planet. Go ahead and click on that, get that opened, and we'll meet you back here as soon as you've got that opened.
All right, and we noticed that with good research, we should be able to have the evidence from multiple sources keep telling the same story. And we keep hearing about how bugs are nutritious, how they're environmentally friendly, and the data really seems to be corroborated among multiple sources. So this is our final source, the food that can feed and maybe even save the planet. We're just going to get you started, and really you should have your claims and all of your evidence filled in, but this is a final source to be able to find another quote or statistic you need to make your argument. From CNN, on a morning in the not too distant future, you might toast bread made with cricket flour, drink a protein smoothie made from locust powder, and eat scrambled eggs made extra creamy with the fat from a mopane caterpillar, with a side of mealworm bacon. That meal will give you 4 times the iron, more than 3 times the protein, and more key vitamins and minerals than the bread, smoothie, eggs, and bacon you eat today, all while saving the planet. No way! You'll eat bugs, you say? No way, I'll eat bugs, you'll say. Well, sorry to break it to you, but if you eat chocolate, pizza, and spaghetti, you're already eating insects, and worse.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration allows 30 or more insect parts and some rodent hair in every bar of chocolate. I really love chocolate. Nearly 2 maggots in a 16-ounce can of tomatoes or pizza sauce, and up to 450 insect parts and 9 rodent hairs in every 16-ounce box of spaghetti. There's just no way to get rid of all the creatures that might hitch a ride along the food processing chain. So the FDA has to allow what they call food defects, which you eat without even knowing. And there are many in our foods, even peanut butter and jelly. So why not eat bugs on purpose and simultaneously fight climate change?
All right. Bugs are really good for you. Your friends and neighbors are already munching on insects. According to a report by Global Market Insights, the U.S. edible insect market topped 55 million in 2017, and it is expected to grow to nearly 80 million by 2024. Europe's on track to do the same, while Asian Pacific nations are expected to eat $270 million worth of insects by the quarter of the century. A growing demand for high-quality protein, along with a movement towards sustainability and against processed foods, are a few of the reasons behind the growing popularity. Here's another explanation. Bugs are just good for you. Many countries and traditions have known this for decades, even centuries. According to a 2013 report by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, at least 2 billion people worldwide eat bugs every day. I've eaten bugs in many countries: termites, scorpions, beetle larvae, grasshoppers, and silkworms, all very common, said entomologist Jeff Tomberlin, who directs a forensic and investigative science program at Texas A&M University.
I had beetle larva that was incorporated into a quiche. I've had bamboo worms that were fried like French fries, he said. I've had termites that were smoked and served as an appetizer, just like peanuts. And as for the taste, it's sort of a nutty popcorn flavor, Tomberlin says. The buttery flavor would be the fat of the insect, and the nuttiness would be the chitin or the exoskeleton. The most commonly eaten insect groups globally, according to the FAO, are ants, beetles, bees, caterpillars, cicadas, crickets, dragonflies, flies, grasshoppers, leaf bugs, locusts, scale insects, termites, and wasps. That's a lot
That's
of.
like all of them.
Yeah, really.
Mhm.
But there's lots more to choose from. More than 2,100 edible insects have been recorded in the world, according to Wageningen University and research in the Netherlands. So look right here, the most commonly consumed insect species that they can read about.
Mhm.
All right, at this point, we're going to turn this over to you so you can continue to read and look for more textual evidence that you could put into your chart. So go ahead and finish this article. You'll see more sections. Bugs are good for the planet. Maybe that's one of your claims, so that you could continue that out and get this chart filled in, and we will meet you back to talk about reasoning. All right, so teachers, you're probably going to want to pause here and give students a few minutes to make sure that they have their claim and their evidence done. When most have their claim and evidence completed, then go ahead and play the video and we'll talk about the expectation for reasoning.
All right, so the key to effective argument is you have to make a claim, and we've got those claims. You may say something like, eating insects is popular and tasty. But nobody's going to believe you unless you have evidence. You need things from the experts, quote, statistics. And so you put something in like, for instance, or research shows, and then I've highlighted the quote here, roughly 80% of the world's population practices entomophagy or the eating of insects. So I'm proving that it's popular. But we don't want just you to just regurgitate quotes to us. That's not crafting an argument. That's not thinking. When you submit an argument, we want to see more of you more than quoted material. Your quotes are there for support to back your argument, but we want your own reasoning, thinking, your own commentary. So when you turn something in, you're going to highlight your quotes and notice that this writer, most of the piece is their own thinking, their own crafting of the argument. So after your quote, you will continue on and you'll say this proves, or clearly this shows that if most of the world enjoys these alternate protein sources, perhaps Americans should become more open-minded and embrace what other cultures deem as a delicacy. Most insects taste like familiar fruits, nuts, and vegetables anyway, and if we're willing to gnaw on a pound of animal flesh, perhaps it's not so barbaric to consider noshing on some honeyed grasshoppers. So that's you making sense of what the evidence says, connecting it back to your claim. And that's where the reasoning work comes in. So right here, your evidence should not be paragraphs upon paragraphs. It should just be one simple sentence, one simple piece of data, statistic, a quote from the FAO or an expert. And then the rest should be you making sense of that argument.
So then you're going to take a look at right here. It says insects are good for you. And then I have evidence that matches that insects are good for you. Right here talking about how they're highly nutritious, healthy food source, full of protein. And now I'm going to explain that. And I'm going to come in my own words. I'm not just going to restate the evidence. I want you to really explain how this connects with insects being good for you. All right, and so as I look at this one, I'm going to come out and say clearly this evidence shows how healthy insect eating is for you. Insects are better for you than beef, because beef has no fiber. And high fat content. You can get all the protein, minerals, and vitamins from insects and avoid all the fats from beef by eating bugs. So right there, I've used a few sentences to back up my claim about how they are good for you. And notice, again, my claim is just a sentence, my evidence, just like a sentence. But when I go into my reasoning, I do 2 or 3 sentences. And sometimes I get a little sassy in there and tell you, you know what, you really should eat this. And this is why you should eat this. And it's ridiculous that you're not. So it's okay to get a little sassy in that last section. So your job today is to finish out this chart. Go ahead and make sure you have your claim, your evidence, and your reasoning. Notice that your reasoning has to be 2 to 3 sentences in minimum, and it's okay to get a little sassy in your reasoning. We'll see you back tomorrow.